So I've tried to make this a few times, let's just get right into this. I don't like Star Trek Discovery very much.
Yes, I hear it's going around.
Bless you.
At the same time, I think a lot of the criticism that surrounds it is kind of, not good. Because I don't see a lot of people actually focusing on issues that I think the show actually has. Oh, there's one or two good voices about it. I'll continue to say that SF Debris is probably the best person talking about this sort of thing, but the vast majority of it is arguing about stuff that doesn't really matter, and if the show was good otherwise, you probably wouldn't notice. I mean, who really cares about the continuity here? I mean, whatever, this doesn't look futuristic anymore. And as much as I'd like to complain that the biggest issue is the story is that they tried to make themselves new and different by making them like every other sci-fi show on Earth, that could still work if it didn't have this one problem. And this is probably going to be a shorter video because I haven't mastered the YouTuber ability to speak about nothing for about an hour. A tentative defense of 50 Shades of Grey. It's porn for women, guys, lay off. There, I just saved you an hour. But that inability is why I think I noticed this when I watched Discovery. And that is, it's way too prone to pseudo-philosophical bullshit. Yes, that is actually a technical term. And no, I'm not kidding, that is actually the technical term for this type of talk. I misspoke. It's actually pseudo-profound bullshit. Whatever, I'm not changing anything. And when I say pseudo-philosophical bullshit, I mean...
Words define who we are. Officer, orphan, widower.
Apparently words have definitions, guys. Did you catch that? Or, you get statements like this.
Is our problem based? Biology or physics?
Are you really so naive as to see them as different? At the quantum level, there is no difference between biology and physics.
You guys just put the word quantum in front of everything?
Yeah, duh. I learned that in 7th grade science class. I went to school in Idaho. Is the education system so crappy in the future that you're worse than the state that only beats out Louisiana and Mississippi? That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Anything you'd see Deepak Chopra say, or about half the stuff that Jordan Peterson says.
I think that's I really do believe this, although it's very complicated to explain why. I really believe that's a representation of DNA.
Kermit the Frog?
Somebody talked! No one is safe! I'm getting out of here! Yay!
What's his appeal?
I mean, that brings up the question of why do they do this if that so obviously doesn't mean anything? It works. Lacing an otherwise dull statement with some pseudo-philosophical bullshit makes it sound a lot better to the average person. If I were to say something about the oneness of nature, man, is that nature isn't actually one. The real meaning of nature is to be more than one. To be not be as said. That was an honest paraphrase of something I read, and no, it didn't make any more sense in context. But lacing your writing with things like that tends to impress people who don't otherwise know better. It ties into our cues of trust and such. And this is why I think the people who have been, let's be frank, overwhelmingly positive about this show like it. I don't mean to be mean to Trexpertise. I'm sure he's a nice guy. But his videos are way too prone to this same type of bullshitting.
But the perfection of the parody in USS Callister might at least alert the writers of Discovery and other spin-offs that Trek has truly reached a point of cultural saturation, that it's time to innovate before the franchise becomes a parody of itself.
By Grabthar's hammer, by the sons of Orville, you shall be avenged.
And look, I only noticed this because I'm very bad at it, so I notice when other people do it. More so than the show not being very good sci-fi, not being a very fun adventure, and being a really poor war story. I feel like the bullshitting that this series does is its main detriment. This is probably why a lot of people who don't like Star Trek Discovery really liked the Orville. It's so unpretentious. It basically tells you, yeah, we're trying to do Star Trek without doing Star Trek. And boom! They succeed at that. That and the characters are likely to point out this type of bullshitting. You know, it's somebody intelligent enough to realize that doesn't actually mean anything. And like I said, this stuff can work, but I don't feel like it works for a long time. This is the type of thing that comes up, impresses for a few moments, until people can think about this sort of thing a bit longer, and then they just go, wait, that didn't actually mean anything. So I just don't think this show is going to have a very long shelf life, because
My mother taught me the greatest mysteries come in threes: birth, life, death. The past, the present, and future.
oh my god, Michael, that doesn't mean anything.